Hi, welcome. My name is Brittany Rose. I'm here with Vanessa Cole today, and we're really excited to talk about a new series that we're going to be starting, Coffee and Construction. So Vanessa is our very first guest. She's been on our Coffee and Construction tour, which you'll hear a lot more about. But today, I really want to dive into all that she's accomplished, everything that she's doing. I have not met another woman, particularly a woman of color, developer here in the state of Texas who is doing anything close to the scale that you're doing. So I'm so excited to learn from you and to give our audience an opportunity to learn from you. And so let's jump into it. Let's start with just you telling us who you are, where you came from, and how you got there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Brittany, for having me. And first and foremost, the audience just needs to know how great you are and all the things that women in real estate is doing. And we talked off camera earlier just about wires, tentacles being everywhere. And you guys have introduced me to some key players that has helped grow my business. So thank you, and definitely wishing a lot of success for Build with Brittany. Okay, so who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? So my name is Vanessa Cole. I started off as a bank teller and one of those, I guess, kids that had big dreams, and I knew real estate was going to be the route that I took. And as a bank teller, I was processing this guy's checks. He told me he was a real estate asset manager. I didn't know what that meant, but I heard real estate. I told him I was getting my real estate license. He said, once your license, call me. I was literally in training at Keller Williams, and I had 5 contracts already ready like the day after I got my license hung.
Okay, let's pause there because so a large part of our audience are real estate agents who want to become builders, developers, etc. And an even larger part of the audience will get their license and never do anything with it and never make a single sale, or maybe do 1 or 2 a year. Yeah. How did you have a book of business already to go?
So I did not. I think what I did have was I was intentional, and I knew that I wanted to do something great in real estate. I just didn't know what. My prayer was always, I want to do amazing work with amazing people. I just wasn't sure, am I going to go commercial? Am I going to be a luxury agent? Am I going to be a leasing? Like, I didn't know. But when I met the guy at the bank, he was just like, hey, I love your work ethics. I mean, you're like the best teller, always professional and kind, and you work hard. And so he was like, let's just try this. So I didn't really have an end goal at that time. But when I got to know more of what they did, I learned that they were a tax increment reinvestment zone, which is a TIR. There's about 26 of them here in Houston. 9 of them are petition TIRs, which means that they have an affordable housing program. So all that to say is they owned all of these lots, and they were still acquiring more lots, specifically in low to moderate income areas. And so I was just a teller helping him acquire. A teller then got my real estate license, helping him acquire those lots. So that was all I was doing. I just wanted to make a commission.
Right.
And then we fast forward. And I was like, fast forward like 5 years later, by that time, I then started representing a real estate investment trust. We were acquiring like 50 houses a month. So then I saw acquisitions in real estate on a volume scale. Mm-hmm. And that opened up my eyes. I was like, well, you don't have to do onesie twosies with a buyer or a seller. Mm-hmm. Like, you can actually represent an investor that's buying bulk homes.
Right.
And I learned about Salesforce, and then how analysts were evaluating like bulk homes, and that just, it expanded my mind. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I have to do something on another level.
Absolutely. Okay, so more questions. How did you get in touch with that investor, that trust? And what would you recommend for other people who are coming kind of down that road? I know this was several years ago, but for us,
15 years ago.
15 years ago, girl, what? Okay. For us, for Wire, we're always, it's collaboration over competition. It's always about connections. It's always about showing up. And I'm wondering, is that how you were able to make your way into these opportunities as well?
Yes. So that investor came once again going back to being intentional when I got my license and I hung it at Keller Williams. And I did that because I knew that they had a really good new agent training and I wanted to work under a team. I just knew that there was so much I didn't know about real estate. And I am always thinking about how can I take quantum leaps? How can I expedite my learning curve? I'm not trying to cut corners. I'm just trying to expedite the learning curve and eliminate as much brain damage.
Getting through the dip as quick as possible.
Yes.
Right. And the way to do that, I want people to really hear you. Team. Right?
Yeah.
You wanted to be on a team. You wanted to find people that had done the work before you so that you could learn the lessons without experiencing maybe some of the downfall.
Correct. And you're learning from the wise, right? You're learning from people who have been there before you. So I was intentional in identifying who the top producers were at that firm. And I just started introducing myself to all of them, letting them know who I am. I'm a new agent. I'm hungry. And any leads you don't have time for, consider me. I'll work them however you would like them worked. Whatever commission split, I'm open. I'm just hungry.
I just want to make some money.
Just hungry. And I had moved here from Dallas. I didn't have like a contact database. Like some of the agents I was seeing, they went to high school with them. They went to college here locally. They were now professionals. I didn't have that. So I was like, I've got to just get it wherever I can.
Yep.
So long story short, I said I wanted to work under a top producer, and I wanted to work under a top producer who represented investors and had like an investment mindset. And through him is where the real estate investment trust partnership came, and that's how I learned acquisition.
Got it. I love that. I've heard your story several times, but I've never been able to like get into those nitty gritty details. And I think that's where like the meat of it is, right? Because I want people to be able to follow a path. And the things that I'm hearing from you is your team, your network, and your transferable skills, right? Like your ability to show up, to be professional, to be kind, to like be personable, to go get the business, to go ask the questions, to go shake the hands. Those are the things that have made you successful in the long run.
And I would add, getting out of your comfort zone. I went to a predominantly African American, Hispanic high school or grade school all the way up, and I was like, okay, I took a step back, just kind of looking. I don't always want to bring race in this, but I was just looking at how real estate was set up and how this playing field was set up, and I was like, I need to be around people who are thinking differently, acting differently. Like, I don't want to just be around my friends and people that make me feel good and comfortable. Like, I want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I want to stretch myself. I want to learn. I mean, it's kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I didn't even really know how to talk to white people or other cultures. And it sounds so silly, but at that time, when I was 19, 20, I just didn't know.
Yeah. It's just a lack of exposure, right?
Lack of exposure.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a predominantly white area. And the reason I moved to Houston was because there was such like a collaborative culture amongst Black people. Yeah. So I think I think it's about knowing yourself and finding like, okay, this is where I've been at, and to stretch myself in a new direction, this is where I want to go.
Correct.
Yeah.
And all of our paths are different, right?
And what's right for all of us is different.
Yes, correct. So being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you grow into the conversations that you're around. And so I really wanted to grow into business minded conversations. How are we scaling? How are we, my saying at Cole Klein Builders is I want to be the Chick-fil-A of affordable housing. Quality product, quality team, quality service, and being innovative. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was intentional about where I was positioning myself and making sure that everybody around me kind of supported that vision of where I wanted to ultimately be.
And so that has brought you here, which we're going to get into some of your projects now, which I'm super excited. So for our audience who has not gone to Coffee and Construction, this will be our second Coffee and Construction. Well, the one that we did was our second one. Coming up in April will be our third. And the one we did together was a day-long tour of various projects, 2 of Vanessa's projects. And let's start with the project highlights of Avenue Park.
Yeah.
Love this project because and I particularly love it because of the partnership behind it. And I'm not going to steal your thunder because I want you to talk about it. But this is in North Houston. It's 7 acres, a total of 46 lots. The developer and architect is Avenue CDC. And I want you to talk a little bit about CDCs because I think that's something that people don't quite understand. Like, unless you're really in it, like if you're just getting in it, you don't know what a CDC is. You don't know how they work and why they're important. But the builders on the project are Coal Climb Builders and Habitat for Humanity, and the funding is Avenue CDC. So I want you to talk to us about how the opportunity came across your desk, the importance of CDCs, and then let's get into like what are the challenges and how did you overcome those?
Yes. So the opportunity came through networking, right?
Teamwork, teamwork, teamwork.
Yeah. We tell everyone 50% of the close is just showing up. Right. So going to all of these different affordable housing, networking events, city events, political fundraisers. I try to be everywhere. The Greater Houston Builders Association events, land development events, and just your consistency of showing up. People then say, oh, you're serious about your business. You're serious about what you're doing. Like, I continuously see you all the time. So then they start recognizing you as a credible player. And so, because I've known the Avenue CDC team, I mean, maybe over a decade.
Wow.
Yes, just because we've all kind of been in the same circles, just never worked together. But someone on their team, I was actually leaving a Greater Houston Builders Association event. I think it was a government affairs event, and he was blowing me up. So I called him when I got in the car, and he was like, hey, we need a builder like now. And he was like, would you consider hopping on a call? Let's talking about this project and let us know if it's a good fit for you and your team to take on. And I was like, sure, let's do it.
Now let's go back a little bit because there's a gap that people are going to have to cross if they're trying to follow a similar path. And that's how do you become a builder?
Sure.
What does that look like? What did your journey look like?
Yes. So I started my construction company actually, but going back to when I was a teller, the guy at the bank, 5 years later, he was like, hey, Vanessa, we have over 1,000 lots. Like, consider putting a construction company together and build.
And what does that look like? Like, how do you put a construction company together?
And that's what I said. I said, this sounds like a lot of work. I'm like, why would I want to do that? No. And so my mind was like, okay, how can I make it less work, but still get paid off of it? And so I was trying to find a builder, bring them to the group, and then I just get a piece of every closing because I facilitated that. But what I found is the builders kept trying to cut me out and was like, what do I need you for? Like, I'm doing all the work. You made an introduction.
Right.
I'm not going to pay you on 1,000 lots from this introduction.
Right.
I was naive. But thankfully I had this relationship with the group. They were telling me, they were like, the builders are trying to cut you out. So go put your team together. And he was like, find a builder, find a bank, and get to work. I was like, sounds easy. But then he also said, he was like, look, I'm going to introduce you to 3 other minority builders. Call them, pick their brain, find out how they got set up, and just see if this is something you want to do. So that's what I did. I started researching the affordable housing crisis. And I was like, there's a problem here.
And a problem is an opportunity.
Yes. And if I can just provide a portion of the supply in this huge demand that's needed, then I could capitalize off of that.
Right.
I could be in business.
Right. So wait, I'm still stuck on this builder thing because we have so many women in Wired that want to be builders. How did you learn the ins and outs? From what I know, you don't have to be technically licensed to be a builder. How did you find your crew? How did you vet them? How did you manage them?
Yeah.
What programs did you take? What certifications are available? All of that.
Yes. So in Texas, you do not have to be licensed. You can start You can be a construction company today.
Which, coming from the DC area, is wild.
Yeah.
Like, Texas is wild.
Yes, there's pros and cons to it all, right? So the great thing why I love Houston too is it's so entrepreneurial friendly. Like literally you can create ABC LLC, home building LLC today and get to work. Right. But there's pros and cons because you do have bad actors. But how I found my team, so let me rewind. The guy was like, call these builders and ask them questions. So that's what I did. I was like, how did you put your team together? How are you set up legally? Who's funding you? And they were just telling me all these things. So I was a realtor, right? I had no construction experience. I did invest with a home builder from my commissions previously, but I didn't know anything about construction. Like I didn't know a blind from a doorknob.
Right.
Didn't know the difference. So I had to get intentional once again and said, I need to find a GC. I have to find somebody who knows the science of construction, who understands this business, who already has relationships with suppliers and subcontractors, but maybe they're lacking in other areas where I can be of value. And sure enough, I had to look. I can't explain the way God and the universe and everything works. I can't explain it. All I can say is when I've set the intention and I just start working it, things just start going
Shifting.
up.
Yes.
I can't explain it. So I met this guy, my business partner, Gary Klein, and he had been out of building since '08. The market crash took him out, and he doesn't mind me sharing this story. And I asked him, I said, well, do you want to get back in? Because I had came across an opportunity to buy 10 lots for $10 with the Houston Land Bank at that time. And I said, I need a GC. And he was like, sure. Like he already had the relationships with the suppliers. He already had subcontractors who he was working with for 20 plus years. He already had the accountant. He already had the banking relationships. But because '08 took him completely out, he had 12 million of inventory he couldn't sell. He was just like, I don't think I'll be coming back to this business. But affordable housing, I was dangling the carrot. And he even tells, he was like, you brought me out of retirement. And it was perfect because I had the city relationships. I had the land. I had the sales and marketing. And I'm just strong at operations and project management naturally. I didn't go to school for it, but I see things from a holistic perspective and I know how to take things from A to Z. And so my strengths, his strengths combined, it was like, okay,
This works.
this works. Yeah. Totally different people. We have totally different backgrounds, total different interests. But what we have that's in alignment is our mission in affordable housing. And we love construction, we love development, and we love business.
That's perfect. So I'm going to double down again. The key is the people, finding the
Yes.
team, collaborating. Like,
Yeah.
it's what I think the theme is, right? So you get into this project, and the CDC is actually the people who come to you and are interested in working with you, which is amazing. For anybody who doesn't know, can you tell us a little bit more about what a CDC is, who they are, what they do, and why they're important?
Yeah, so I am not a CDC expert, make that clear, but I do know that it stands for Community Development Corporation. To my understanding, they're set up as like a nonprofit, and their focus is just to help revitalize certain areas of the community. I don't know all of the intricate details of what they do, but the two that I have worked with or seen in passing, I know that they focus on affordable housing. So putting homes on the ground, educating home buyers for longevity in those homes.
Yep, absolutely. And so they had kind of put together this project. They're the developer on the project. They bring you in, they bring in Habitat for Humanity. And what was that conversation like? How did they present this opportunity and why did it make sense for you?
Yeah. So previously they had a builder that they've worked with forever. And to my understanding, that builder was now retiring or people were just going their separate ways. And they have, I guess, just been aware of the affordable housing work that I've been doing with this TERS over here or the land bank or just different projects. So they were familiar with my portfolio and the work that I've done. So it wasn't a hard sale. And yeah, we sat down. They told us about the project. They said out of this 40 plus home community, we have 17 homes that we need built. We love your style of how you build affordable homes. Because I tried to bring a little bit more
Elegance.
there you go. Thank you. And so they were like, we would love your help with designs. And so it was just from the first meeting, it just felt like it was a good fit. We talked about the project. We discussed numbers. I just talked about how like the draw schedule would flow because previously we would buy the land and we would take out our construction loan and we would take it from A to Z, putting the buyer in. In this case, they had the land, they had their floor plans, they were just looking for a home builder and they had the funding. So this was a little different for us.
Yeah.
And
But it sounds like a little easier.
so there are pros and cons to both sides, but it did eliminate a lot of the early work that we would normally do. But also because I wasn't involved in that early work, there are things that I wasn't privy to information wise. So you do still have to ask a lot of questions and vet because you never want to put yourself in a situation where, you know, maybe the floor plans are poorly drawn, right? And you have a lot of issues on site.
Right.
Or where's their funding coming from? Are they going to have any? I've talked to home builders and they're like, the funding just stopped, you know? So you don't want to be in the middle of a project and then you can't get the funding to pay your trades and suppliers. Like you're floating those costs. You're paying your trades and suppliers first, and then you're going back and saying, hey, owner of the project, now pay me back.
Right.
And so you just never want to get stuck with the bill.
Yeah.
So I was, we're thinking about that.
Yeah.
But we got all of our questions answered. And yeah, I mean, it's been great to work with two of the leading nonprofits in Houston that focus on affordable housing.
Yeah, and the product is incredible. We got to walk it that day, and then we got to help build one of the Habitat for Humanity homes, and it was really exciting to be a part of. It was really fun. And we'll talk more because we're going to keep that rolling. We're going to keep that Habitat for Humanity initiative rolling. Because it was really interesting, and you probably know this, but I think a lot of people will appreciate it. It's like most of those houses are going to go to women-led homes. And that's a blessing, right? Like we're women in the industry, women-led organizations, being able to provide safe, affordable, quality housing to other women. It's full circle.
Yes. The CEO of Avenue is a woman. The architect who did the plans is a woman.
Wow.
Home builder, woman. So there were a lot
of fuzzy. So exciting. It's so exciting. Yeah. I feel like 20 years ago.
Nothing against the men. Like there were men all throughout this project.
Men are amazing. I say all the time. People are like, oh, it's women in real estate. Are men allowed? Yes. Men are some of our biggest supporters. Oftentimes our largest supporters. So nothing against the men. Yeah. But 20 years ago, this was not the landscape of real estate.
Right.
So I'm just really grateful that, and I always tell people the reason why I'm so bullish on women in real estate is because women are about community, right? Yeah. Traditionally, men are about taking care of their family, their individual unit. And women, because of that safety, security, provision, whatever, have the opportunity to take care of everybody else. And so when we invest in women, we see safer communities, higher levels of education, like all the good things. And so nothing against the men. We need the men.
Correct.
But
the men are out there swinging those hammers. Let me tell you that.
My gosh, that stuff was hard.
It
I
was so
like,
hard.
ooh, I have a new level of appreciation for this construction work.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that labor, wow. But to your point, it is very important in terms of women representation for the other women that are watching this podcast of like, can I really do it? I don't know. But then when you do hear there was a woman development team. The
Yeah.
CEO of Habitat for Humanity and Avenue CDC are both women. So there are just women all throughout this development project that are helping to make an impact. And so it is important to hear those things because that could be just the seed you needed to kind of just spark that inspiration for whoever's listening.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay, I know we're running out of time, so we're not going to get to either of the other two developments, but we're going to continue this because I think this is such a good conversation. I want to wrap up on our Avenue Park development. I know you all face some challenges. Well, first of all, let's talk about floor plans. I think you guys have been so intentional about your space use, and I'm really impressed. Plan A is just over 1,000 square feet with 3 beds and 2 baths. And then Plan B is about 1,600 square feet with 3 beds, 2.5 baths with a carport and or garage. Loved that. Now, y'all weren't the architect on it, but how did you feel walking into these plans? Are they plans that you think are going to be like the best fit for the community? Do you think that this is a plan that other people should use? And I think I have some of the schematics. If you don't mind, I'll put those into the podcast too.
Yeah, no, once again, that is the architect Louisa over at Avenue CDC. And I think she did a great job with this may be like her first community of this size. So exciting for her to see her work being developed in real time. And I think the plans are great and it fits the actual neighborhood, right? So we didn't go in and just throw some houses that weren't like in kind to the neighborhood, which is fine if you do that. But Avenue wanted to be very intentional about making sure that it fits seamless with the existing neighborhood. And Louisa did a great job just maximizing that space as best as possible. So yeah, I mean, there are already buyers going under contract and we're just excited to be a part of a project with so much impact.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it, to be a part of the little bit of building that I got to be a part of. Yeah. Now, I know you guys had challenges also. Let's talk about the mechanical system relocation and how that went. And when did you realize it was a problem? Well, first describe in detail what it was, but then when did you realize it was a problem and how did you overcome it? And what was that thought process like? Because my objective is we're all going to face, like, first of all, no deal is the same. And so there's always going to be a new problem that we experience. But if we can talk about somebody else's experience, maybe we can shorten that learning curve for somebody else.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, right, when you're looking at a project, you're thinking about, first, is it a profitable project, right? Before I look at this any further, are we going to be profitable? And then 2, now you're analyzing the plans and you're trying to mitigate as much risk as possible. As I shared earlier, we weren't involved in the plan design. So there are things that we might not have been thinking about. So when we went to actual construction, we did not notice how shallow the attic space was, and the mechanical system, your furnace and other systems needed to go in the attic space and it couldn't fit because it was so shallow. So that's fine. But now we have to create mechanical closets, but we have already framed and, so now we have to bring our guys back out to reframe and we have to bring our AC supplier out and our AC contractor and, everybody's on site trying to solve the problem. Also contacting, the owner, Avenue, and just saying, hey, here's the problem that we found, right? So you're keeping everybody in communication in real time, and then you're also trying to solve the problem.
How are you keeping everyone in communication? Because I feel like in a project, you can have 30 people that you need to keep in communication with. And email doesn't seem like the most efficient way. How are you managing that process and managing all of the vendors, all of the stakeholders?
Yes, so we use Builder Trend software, and everything is in that's like our back office. So all of our subcontractors are there. We keep everyone's U9s, their subcontractor agreement, their insurance. Builder Trend allows you to put the expiration date of those certificate of insurance policies, and then it'll notify my admin of when it's expired, because we get audited, insurance audits every year. And if your record keeping is not up to date, you will be penalized with a fine. In our early stages, we paid a few fines, and then it got to the point of like, y'all, we have to get our stuff together. 50 grand is not cheap. So,
Especially when you didn't have to pay it.
yes.
Yeah.
So yes, communicating through Builder Trend. Now, obviously, we're still emailing, we're still texting, we're still making phone calls, but we try to keep as much communication in Builder Trend because that is our repository for documents, and then we can go back to historical communication and say, oh yeah, this date we had severe weather, this issue happened, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Our job costing is in there. And the thing I love about Builder Trend is it educates you as the home builder to perform better. So they have a Builder Trend University, and they teach you project management, job costing, operations. Yeah, I mean, they bookkeeping.
Well, that's really helpful.
Builder Trend is amazing. I've actually told my team, like, they're based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and I think we're going to fly our team out and just do a training there at their headquarters
To get the most out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's so robust and there's so many contractors on there. So you're talking about a pool of everybody in the same business, and we're all trying to gain best practices. And that's the place to do it, in this hub.
Yeah. And there's very few places that allow for that.
Yes.
Very few opportunities to get that.
And there's other softwares like Procore, Build Pro, but they're a little bit more expensive. So we're just not there yet. Even though we have 5 communities going, I mean, they're more for like your big boys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, I'm going to do one other challenge because this is a challenge for us all. So, utility delays.
Yes.
Let's talk about the utility delays, getting your dry utilities in, how that affected your project. And for anybody who's, taking the path behind you, what do you recommend to avoid any utility delays?
Yes, great question. So there were not any utilities in the project when we got there in terms of dry utilities. So that's your electrical, your gas, your telecommunications, fiber optic. And we were aware of that. So that was a conversation that we had with Avenue, because when you're sitting down, you're vetting the project, and they said that was something that they were still working on. So we're like, okay, there's no electricity, so we need to inform the trades that they're going to have to build on generators, right? And so, but at the same time, you're like, well, where are you? How long is it going to be? And so I pulled in my dry utilities consultant. I have 2 that I work with, happy to share if anyone's in Houston. They're the ones that work day to day with CenterPoint Gas and CenterPoint Electric and AT&T, and they're in those trenches.
Yep.
Right.
And let me pinpoint that having consultants is a hack, y'all.
Yeah.
Like the people who do the work, who are working with various entities, whether it's governmental entities, utilities, having someone whose job is to make your project easier and who's doing it day in, day out and knows all the people. I mean, it's absolutely necessary for a successful, on time, on budget project. So make sure when you're working on those pro formas, you're budgeting for that.
Yes. And you touched on earlier, like the importance of people, team, relationships. And you got to understand, when you're working with CenterPoint, this huge company, or the city of Houston, or our suppliers, you have to you're going to have to take the time to build all of these relationships, or you're going to have to partner with people that have some of these relationships in place. Because if not, you're going to just keep bumping your head. It's going to get frustrating. You're going to be complaining and saying, they're slow and this and that. And yes, but you have to ask, what is your lead time of getting this done? What is the process? And so if you already know that it's going to take 60, 90 days, well, then you can plan for that. But if you don't know what you don't know, you can't really plan for it. So the challenge at Avenue Park was that the utilities didn't exist. So I don't wait for people. Let me bring in my person, and I just want them to do some preliminary investigation and see where we are. So she used to work for Centerpoint. She knew a lot of people there. So when she jumped in, she was like, Vanessa, we're missing this and this. And I'm like, Josie, I need you to push it. I just need you to kind of stop your projects right now and push this. So she did an excellent job. She got us the walk. Anywho, so then we got the electricity resolved.
How long did that take, though?
About 2 months. Yeah, ish. Maybe 1 or 2 months. And then we had the gas. We're currently working through the gas issue right now. So I called in for my gas yard lines for each house with the city of Houston and Centerpoint. And then we find out that there is no gas. The main gas line has not been energized. And we're like, what do you mean it has not been energized? And so I'm on the job site last week and I see the Centerpoint team. And I'm like, oh, hey, are you guys here to energize the main line so I can get gas to the houses? And they're like, no, we're about to run a 500 linear feet of a line extension where there is gas so you guys can get gas. We're working on the layout. I'm like, what do you mean you're working on the layout? I was like, and then what happens after you design the layout? And he's like, oh, well, 2 other people have to approve, and then you'll get on the schedule for construction. So now I'm sounding the alarms with everybody. And I'm like, everybody, we're not going to have gas, because you're still trying to move the construction project forward.
Yeah.
But anywho, it's fine. There's a solution or there's a trade-off. There's something that can be done. You just have to catch that in real time and be nimble, be flexible, bring the right people to the table and work through it.
Is there anything you would have done beforehand to prevent any of these delays?
So once again, I wasn't on the development side. So that's usually what goes on when you're the developer. So on my projects, that is what we do. But like I said, we knew it wasn't complete. And so we brought our team in. But I guess what Centerpoint had shared with the developer is everything was ready to go. Mm-hmm. So at some point along the way, that gas piece was missing.
Right. Okay. We're going to pause it there.
Yeah.
We have 2 more projects to talk about, but we can't talk about them in this episode. We'll be replaying a lot of what we talked about at Coffee and Construction because there's so much good information that I really want to share with you all. And it took us a while to get this on the books, but we're going to have to do another one.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. Anyone who is interested in running your own land development company or new construction company, you just have to understand that there are so many moving parts. And I have only scratched the surface of just little pieces going on the construction site.
Yeah.
Right? What's going on with admin? Like I said, I touched a little bit about insurance, operations, sales and marketing, land acquisitions, pro forma, analyzing, accounting. I'm at a place now, my tax bill it's
problematic.
And I'm talking to my accountant. I'm like, where did this come from? And once again, it's a lot of what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And as you're growing and expanding and evolving, you're encountering new challenges. And so I think that's why a great place like Wire exists. Like I mentioned, Builder Trend University, Greater Houston Builders Association. You need to be in these circles as much as possible if you're serious about winning in this particular field.
Absolutely. I mean, and to go back to your point, you don't know what you don't know, but you need to know who to call.
Yes.
Because when stuff pops up, I mean, I've called you many a times like, hey, this is what's going on, and I don't know up from down, what do I do, right? Yeah. I remember when I first got started, I didn't have that network, and it was disastrous,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really why Wire is important, is because we need those networks. We need to know who to call. And more importantly, we need people who will pick up the phone when we call,
Right.
right? And that comes from building relationships and you know, putting one foot in front of the other. So I want, if we get time before April, I want to talk about Carver Heights. I want to talk about Zeri, which I'm so excited about. The first 3D printed affordable home community, definitely in Houston, but I've never heard of one.
There is a 3D print. There's a 100-home community outside of
But
Austin.
affordable housing?
Not affordable, no.
Right. See, listen, the details, ma'am, the details. It's impressive. It's exciting. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to, you know, work in tandem and just whatever we can do to push the mission forward. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for always being willing to impart your knowledge. I'm going to wrap it up, but I've always been so impressed with Vanessa because she doesn't have a course. She's not selling a program. She's not selling anything. She's doing it just because she loves it and she wants to see other women doing it. And it's just off of the love. And I just am always so inspired and so grateful for you taking the time to impart your knowledge, because it costs a lot of money and heartache to get this level of experience, and for you to give it away so freely is so admirable. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the great work you're doing.
Thank you. All right, y'all, stay tuned. Look in the description. Click any links that are available to get more information. Coffee and Construction will be a 3-day event coming this April 4th, 5th, and 6th. One day will be nothing but workshops talking about all the nitty gritty things that you need to be in development. Second day will be nothing but going to sites, getting boots on the ground, seeing the projects, networking with other developers, builders, architects, lenders, all the things. And then the third day will be cleaning up the community. So giving back and doing what we can to serve the communities that we work in. So stay tuned and stay tuned for the next episode, I guess. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.